Welcome to Hang Time, where I get to hang out with some of the best golfers in the world. This week we're here in Miami and I've decided to switch things up because I got a brand new set of clubs and I want to try them out. So I've dragged today's guest to the driving range, and he's our 2010 US Open champion from Smash GC, Graeme McDowell. Let's go hang out with him. What's up, Graeme?
What's up? How we doing?
Good, how are you?
Good to see you.
Thanks for spending time with me. More
worries.
time with me, I should say.
No problems at all.
You're gonna get sick of me by the end of the season, or maybe by the end of this week.
So we didn't use all the questions up in the podcast, that's what
No,
you're telling me?
no, we did not.
Okay, all right, good.
Well, the last time we spoke, you mentioned your son Wills is gonna be out here, and he's very excited and very keen to meet his favorite golfer, your teammate, Taylor Gooch. Has that happened yet?
Yeah, so he literally just arrived here at the Royal about 30 minutes ago. I took him up to the Players Lounge. Gooch was there. I took him over. He was a little shy.
Aww.
And then he ran away very jacked up. So he's excited. Yeah, he came to Chicago last year, Rich Harvest Farms. And I guess he got sucked in by all the LIV kind of hype videos. And obviously Taylor had won 3 times and Taylor was all over the LIV stuff. And he came home and he said, "Dad, Taylor Gooch is my favorite player." And I was like, well,
Were you offended?
I mean, no, I wasn't like personally offended. I was just like, so many legendary players out here. I thought it was such an interesting choice. A little bit bandwagon, off the back of 3 wins, but he just, and I obviously the way things have kind of, transpired with the fact that I end up in Smash GC and Taylor ends up in Smash GC, and then this is Will's first tournament for the year, so he's here in Miami with us, and I'm excited to have him get some exposure to guys like Taylor that he really idolizes, and of course Brooks and so many of the players out here. He follows it pretty hard.
Yeah.
He's always on YouTube watching all the golf content. He loves it, and I'm excited for him to be here.
Wills, I hope you like Hang Time. You gotta like Hang Time, especially this week, because I thought your dad.
Do you have your own YouTube channel? I'll get him
No,
subscribed.
I don't have my own YouTube channel. Speaking of Wills, I know he's getting into golf, and I wanted to ask you, what's that like as a father who's obviously been there, done that, and now watching your own son going through kind of the process of everything?
I think that's a great question because, as a parent, we obviously see how we were brought up and kind of what worked and what didn't work, and you see other parents, you see other kids that kind of, some guys make it, some guys don't make it, and I guess you figure out that there really is no set recipe. You can have early starters that burn out. You can have early starters that become superstars. You can have late starters that make it.
Yeah.
I think as a parent, I try to be how my dad was. He was very much kind of like, if you don't want to play golf, that's okay. But if you do want to play golf, let's kind of do it right. And that's kind of how I am with Wills. I mean, he's kind of a little like me from the point of view of he likes grinding, he likes hitting balls. I never have to, to the point where I got back from Hong Kong a couple of weeks ago and I just got off the plane, Hong Kong, Dubai, Orlando, and I was beat when I got home. And I was on the range 2 hours later when I got home because he's waiting for me to walk in the door, and he's got his clubs and he's like, "Dad, can we go to the range?" And as a father, I always pictured that one day happening.
Just not after that flight.
But I always said to myself, I would never say no.
Yeah.
But here I am. I'm like, whew, it's the last thing I feel like doing. But it's so great, and I really feel like this off season, for example, I ended up on the range way more than I ever would because he wanted to go hit balls. So I'm like, all right, let's go hit balls. So
I was just about to say, did that in turn then help you put more? Not that you're not a hard worker, because you are, but then spend even more time practicing and being around it, and obviously trying to influence your son.
I think so. I think I had less days. I feel like before he got the bug, if I had a couple of weeks off, I may not touch the clubs for 3 or 4 days, and then kind of dive into it. With him, we play golf every day.
Right.
So he wants to go to the range and hang out, and it's awesome. I mean, he's 7. Will there come a day where he'll wake up and say, I don't really want to play golf today. I want to do something else. And from my point of view, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But we're going to choose something.
Yeah.
If golf's not your sport, we're going to find another sport. Because I really feel like, obviously from an education point of view, he goes to a great school and he's got that taken care of. But sport takes care of, the rest of your growth as a human being and interacting in teams and discipline and practice
Structure,
and
yeah.
competition, all the things, So, for like I say, I'm not kind of dad. I'm like, I don't need my kids to play golf.
Yeah.
I love them to play golf. I
Yeah.
mean, the fact that he already has a foundation in golf. My daughter Vale, she's 9. She already has a semi, foundation in golf as well. She likes to dance. That's her thing right now, and that's great, But like I say, I'd like them to choose something athletic to do, alongside of what they're doing education-wise, and they're good kids.
Yeah, well, what's the one advice you would give to your son from a golf perspective? If he ever came up to you and go, Dad, I need help, what would you tell him?
Oof. It really depends on what stage of life he was at. Like
Yeah.
right now, he makes it very clear that he doesn't want dad coaching him, So
No.
he actually has his own great little junior academy that he works with back in Orlando called the JGPA, the Junior Golf Preparatory Academy.
Okay.
Some great coaches he has there, and like I say, I try not to overcoach him, because I want him to feel like playing golf with me is fun. And I don't think he's at the point where he watches me play and goes, Dad's really good at golf. I think he just kind of like, it's like ho-hum for him, So, so it really depends. Like right now, it's kind of just have some fun.
Yeah.
Hit it as hard as he can and go find it. And I think as he moves forward in life, that advice will start to change, And so how do I practice better? How do I become a better competitor? How do I think correctly when I want to compete,
Yeah.
So right now it's have fun, hit it as hard as you can, start developing that speed,
Yeah.
So, because I've tried to pick that speed up late in life and it's hard to do.
Well, your golf is pretty good right now. Now let's talk about Brooks. So I know we spoke in a post-round interview in Vegas, and you talked about how he reinvigorated your game. Being on his team did that for you. I'm not sure if you know this, but he has said Graeme was one of the guys that I looked up to early on in my career. He was my role model, and I love the way he played, and he's a gentleman. I love the way he carried himself, and I always wanted to copy that. I'm not sure if you're hearing that for the first time, but talk us through how you feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd read quotes to that effect, and obviously, it's makes me feel proud to watch a player like Brooks Koepka, who, it's amazing how it cycles. I mean, he may have looked up to my game at one point. Now I look up to his game, and the way he's performed, especially the major championships the last 7-8 years, like his record, he's the best player in the world in major championships in the last decade, so to be on the team with, a guy that, has that good a game and has that good a mentality. It was really big for me, obviously him putting his trust in me to come and play for Smash, when I'd kind of timed out with the cliques a little bit. It didn't really work out. I was on a team. I wasn't playing well individually. The team wasn't playing well, and it was just this kind of momentum cycle of not good stuff.
Right.
It came to the end of the season and had an opportunity, to potentially get on the Smash team. And I felt like when I got the call from Brooks to say, it's official, let's go. It was like a shot in the arm. It was like, I instantly kind of felt a little nervous. I'm like, I've got a job to do for this team next year. There's an expectation level when you're playing with Brooks. He's going to compete. How many 13 individual events we'll play. He'll compete 7-8 times minimum. Yeah. So you got to go. And I felt like at the point in the career I was at, I know my game. My game's always been bubbling under the surface, but it's like there's always that little X factor. That's that fine line. And you ask any player in this range, they'll say, you're always a fine line between competing and winning, and there's always a fine line between playing badly and and not competing. It's just the small things, and most of it's mentality. Most of it's kind of like like I say, feeling nervous is a good thing at this point in my life because it focuses me. That little bit of extra pressure that being on Smash has brought to me. Not just Brooks, obviously Taylor. Yeah. The way he played last season. Jason Kokrak's a great player. We have a competitive team, and I knew that I had to elevate my game a little bit. And I mean, that was just the icing on the cake from the mentality point of view. I have to bring the rest of my game to the table as well. I can't expect Brooks to bring me up every week or Taylor to bring me up every week. Yeah. I have to bring it to the table. And then just use that little bit of extra motivation that they bring to help elevate my game. So, through 4 events, 2 top 10s, I'm excited the way I'm playing. I'm excited at the start to the season. Yeah. We've obviously had that 1 Smash win in Vegas. Crushers are playing great. We got to go catch them.
Yeah, they certainly are turning out to be a dynasty, but I'm sure you guys are going to give them a run for the money.
Yeah.
Let's watch you hit some. I'm going to hit some myself because I got
do
some
that.
new sticks.
What you got?
I got some pings, actually.
Nice.
So, been itching to try them. I'm going to take this opportunity to do so.
I mean,
and who
literally,
warms up?
literally fresh off the rack.
Yeah. I don't need to warm up. Just go straight to the big
Go straight
stick.
to driver. I mean, that's, to be that young and flexible.
I'm not as young as you think. Try not to hit my own
It's
golf
aggressive,
bag.
just going straight to driver. Aggressive. Look at that. I mean, I thought it was the Singapore sling. That's the Singapore straight ball.
That was a Singapore beeline to the pub.
Very nice there. That was a great swing.
Thank
Great
you.
swing.
Now, speaking of Brooks, since you do get to spend a lot of time with him, is there something about him we might not know that you can share with us? That's the smile that I was looking for.
I mean, I think,
Feel free to divulge.
I mean, the answer is no, I guess. I mean, I think,
Really?
Brooks is I feel like Brooks is a guy that kind of, he wears his coat of armor a lot,
Yeah.
because I think that's his mentality. He likes to, especially when he's in this environment here, his psyche is that, he is just kind of fully focused,
What's he like off the course then?
Off the course, I mean, obviously he's a dad now.
Yeah.
My wife Kristen helped Brooks and Jenna with their house that they built a few years back. Obviously
Beautiful, by the way.
kind of watched them both grow into adults. Have crew, their little guy, and he's a devoted dad, and he's got plenty of stuff going on now off the golf course. So, he's obviously, right now he's going into the shell from a point of a major championship point of view. He's trying to get the head down, do his job.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot more going on in his life right now with Smash GC as a franchise, with all the business that goes with being a LIV team owner. But, more importantly, being a parent, being a dad, and, having a family, which is obviously a special time in a guy's life, So, but like I say, when he's out here doing his job, he doesn't give much away because, he's got that tough guy persona.
Yeah.
When I look at mentalities, when I look at some of the best players that I've seen mentally on a golf course, I mean, take Tiger Woods as maybe the greatest ever, without knowing Jack. I mean, I didn't spend any time around Jack, but having played a lot of golf with Tiger, and just seeing the way these guys are, get into their zone, into their moment when they're out there. I mean, you got to say Brooks is probably the number 2 best head of any player that I've seen in my career, and it's cool to be around it. It's cool.
Yeah.
We're only 4 events deep. I'm still getting to know him from a golfer point of view, but he's awesome to be around. And listen, speaking as a golf fan now, I mean, as we move into the Masters next week, I can't wait to sit down and watch TV and watch how these LIV guys, especially these LIV guys, because I think Bryson's playing out of his mind right now. I think obviously Joaquim's playing out of his mind right now. Brooks, we know Brooks is going to compete, and then list off all the other players out here that we know will compete. So I'm excited to watch the Masters next week and see how the guys do.
You might just be getting to know Brooks, but let me try and get my phone here. Brooks's caddy.
Young
Ricky.
Richard.
Young Richie.
Yeah.
Ricky Elliot. Now, you guys go way back, and
We do.
I have a beautiful throwback picture that I would love for you to take a look at.
Oh my goodness me. Yeah, that was our.
That's obviously you.
That's me. That's a slightly skinnier version. I mean, I was skinny once. Look at that.
And that's Ricky.
That's Ricky. Yeah. So I mean,
Hang on. First of all, what's that uniform?
So that was our school team. That was our school team. That was a.
How old were you there?
I was probably Ricky was still in school. Ricky was 2 years ahead of me in school, so I was probably 16.
Okay.
15, 16. Still trying to figure it all out. But that was cool. I mean, genuinely, when I was growing up in Portrush, we had a great group of junior golfers, probably 15, 20 of us, and Ricky was the best. So when I was 12, 13 years old, I looked up to Ricky as the guy that I wanted to be like. And, he went to college in the States. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to college in the States. So he went to Toledo, University of Toledo, with actually a couple of other Irish players who were very good. And they didn't.
You went to Birmingham.
And they, unfortunately, they didn't have any scholarship money left to sign me, and I couldn't afford to go. So I ended up back at school in Ireland for a year, and then UAB kind of came knocking and asked me to come and check their place out. So I ended up going to UAB, which, you know, was probably a blessing in disguise, because they were freezing their butts off in Toledo, and I was down actually in a reasonably southern state where the weather was
rain.
where the weather was pretty good, you know. So I mean, obviously one of the big things about British and Irish players, especially coming to college in the States, is, you know, upping their volume in the wintertime, because there's not really a whole lot of golf going on in Portrush, Northern Ireland over the winter. I mean, you know, we still play. I mean, listen, as long as it's not coming in sideways hail and freezing cold, we'll go play golf. But
some would play in hail.
But obviously one of the big attractions of going to US college is going somewhere warm and being able to practice all year round.
Now, speaking of Portrush, because you're the only Irish, really, professional player who's born and raised in Portrush. Next year's Open Championship is at Royal Portrush. You'll have to qualify to get in at this stage. What are you going to do? Are you going to do anything special? Because obviously that means a lot to you to try and get into it.
For sure. I mean, I think, you know, Kenny, my caddy, and I were speaking about it over lunch there a couple of days ago, and I haven't, you know, I'm literally making my plans to try and qualify for the Open this year.
Yeah.
But I mean, already got one eye on Portrush next year, and you know, obviously, once we get the summer out of the way, I might look into the fall and you know, look at the Asian Tour, speak to Cho and everybody at the Asian Tour to see, even South Africa, where there might be some spots available in tournaments to try and get myself into the Open Championship at Portrush next year, because, you know, I played in 19 and it was an amazing experience. You know, first time back in Portrush since 1951. I made the cut on the number. I played Saturday morning with Bubba. I'll never forget it. I mean, it was like a Ryder Cup teeing off on Saturday morning. I mean, they were like 10 deep down both sides of the fairway. It was cool. It was just a cool atmosphere, you know. And then obviously Shane, my good friend, you know, winning on Sunday. You know, it was, you know, being there on the 18th green. Everything about the week was spectacular. I'd have liked to have played better myself personally, but, you know, everything about the week was spectacular. Guys coming up to me and saying, it's the greatest links course I've ever seen. I'm like, you know, I knew it was good. I didn't think it was that good, but you know, it's amazing how you take for granted something that's on your doorstep all your life. But now it goes without saying, I'll be targeting some events potentially that have some spots available. Try and go to those and try and get my my spot taken care of as soon as possible, because I don't want to end up at final qualifying a couple of weeks before next summer. But, you know, obviously, worst comes to worst, I will go to final qualifying. You know, so it would be amazing to be there again. Yeah,
let's let you hit some while I chat your ear off.
Yep.
Yeah, you talked about that Open Championship in 2019 at Portrush, and you weren't in the Open.
Oh yeah.
You had to qualify through points to get in, and you played at the RBC Canadian Open.
That was cool.
And you made that putt.
Yeah.
Like a some 25-footer.
Yeah.
To get yourself in the Open Championship in your hometown. That's pretty cool. Did you know what was on the line?
We did. 18, we were at a golf course, I think it was called Hamilton. Could be wrong on that one, but it was an RBC Canadian Open. I was an RBC guy, great partner, and I was going well on the last day.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was nervous because I knew what I was playing for, right? Actually, I think Rory ended up winning that tournament, but I was hanging in there. I was in the top 10. I knew I was close. 18 was this funky hole because it was about 500 yards, but you had to lay it back off the tee, so you left yourself a really long second, and I missed it just right of the green. Short-sided myself, left myself a nasty up and down. And I remember Kenny and I kind of going, like, do we need to be, you know, kind of crazy with the shot and try and get it up and down, or does a 5 do us? And we're looking at the leaderboard and we can't figure it out. And I end up just kind of getting it onto the green about 20, 25 feet past the hole. And I make this thing with about 10 feet of break on it, right in the middle. And I remember looking up going, I mean, I'm in Portrush now. It was cool. It was really cool to kind of, like I say, RBC were my partner at the time. And it was a cool way to kind of qualify for the Open at Portrush, and hopefully we can sneak our way in there next year.
Well, speaking of clutch putts, that was certainly one of the top ones, but let's take you all the way back, because you've made some in your career.
I've made the odd putt now and again,
You're known for the clutch putts. Let's take you back to the Ryder Cup. at Celtic Manor.
Yeah.
On that 16th hole, you made that putt to retain the cup on the Europe side. That was a huge putt. Now, watching you in your career, you've made, like I said, so many clutch putts. Do you feel like that part of your game, the flat stick, thrives under such pressure?
I mean, I think it's interesting from a putting point of view because I wasn't always a great putter. But at some point during my career, my putting clicked, and I kind of wish I knew what clicked or why it clicked. I mean, the putter I use today, I've had it in the bag since 2006, so obviously equipment. I got the equipment figured out. But somewhere along the line, I became a pretty good putter, and you know, we always joke with my wife. I'll say, you know, we live in a nice house because Daddy can putt. You know, it's not because I can drive a 350 or do anything fancy with a golf ball. I'm just pretty good at putting. But you know, like you say, Celtic Manor, the Ryder Cup last match, most nervous I've ever been in my life. It was just crazy. I just won the U.S. Open a couple of months previous, and I wasn't half as nervous trying to win a U.S. Open as I was trying to hold it together to help Europe win a Ryder Cup, and you know, playing Hunter Mahan.
Yeah.
And Eduardo Molinari had just lost the last 3 holes to Ricky Fowler, so then all of a sudden, instead of my match I just needed a half.
Right.
And I think I was like 3 up with 4 to go, or 2. I think Mahan won the 15th to go back. I was 1 up with 3 to go.
And the U.S. were playing fantastic on that
and
Monday,
they were on the
yeah.
comeback. Yeah, it was a Monday finish, and the U.S. were on the comeback trail big time, and it was cool. Like I say, I was super nervous, super nervous. But then this kind of muted roar came back from the 18th. Fowler just hold his putt against Molinari. Monty was there, the captain. He's jumping around Monty style, you know. Kind of, he says to us, "Do you guys want to know what just happened?" And I'm like, "Well, I know that was not a European shear." So
That's what he said to you on the 16th.
Yeah, he said to me, "Do you want to know what just happened?" And he told me that, you know, the half was not good enough in my game. I had to win my game. And I mean, I was still nervous that it didn't matter anyway. And it actually kind of refocused me a little bit, like we spoke about at the start of the conversation about the whole smash and kind of Brooks, and it just focused me, the pressure. And I hit a great 6-iron into 16 and left myself about a 12, 15-footer down the hill, and Mahan had missed the green, hit a good chip. And I'd played that course. I'd won the Wales Open there a few months previous.
Right, yeah.
And I just, you know, it was a little local knowledge about that green. It kind of fronts the backs a little bit, and the putt kind of broke a little right, and it came back and caught the right edge, and it was just a huge putt at the time, which was cool. And you know,
2010 was a great year for you.
2010 was one of those years where everything I kind of looked at went in the hole.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know, not every season's like that, but
Yeah.
that was a great season. I mean, I won in Wales, I won the U.S. Open, I won, obviously, help being part of that Ryder Cup team was amazing. I won in Spain, and I won
That's
Tiger's
right.
event in the playoff against Tiger at the end of the year. And then took a deep breath and came up for air and went, that was pretty cool.
That's
That was
awesome.
pretty cool.
Yeah, that was awesome to watch. I remember watching your career then, and I was a huge fan already during that time. And
Long time ago.
I'm an even bigger fan now. All right, finally, to finish off our conversation, you've had a very successful career. You've been through a lot. You've had a lot of experience. What would you tell your 20-year-old self?
Ooh, well, yeah, it's always a good one. My 20-year-old self, assuming that 20-year-old self was going to turn pro and have a medium successful kind of tour career. To help me maybe have a better career, I would tell myself to kind of treat it as a marathon, not a sprint.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, I think it's so easy to kind of want to come out every day and need it there and then. And I think, my dad used to always say to me in my teens, when things didn't go well in golf, it's all experience, son. It's all experience. And you just like, I don't want experience. I want it now.
Yeah.
So I think we're always in such a rush, especially when we're young. And I think it's such a golf, especially, and I mean life's the same way. But it's such just those little days just adding up. The more you can just do that every day, try and get a little bit better every day, it adds up into something great, because I think it's very easy to kind of get frustrated when you don't see results. Mm-hmm. And then you go off and you go down a tangent when you just need to stick on the path and just stay with it, keep kind of knocking on the door, doing the right things every day, and eventually success will come if you put it out there. You know? So I think, like I say, just kind of staying on the path a bit better rather than getting frustrated and jumping around. That would probably be one of the many things I tell my 20-year-old self.
Well, that is great, sage advice from one of the best golfers in the world. Graeme McDowell, thank you so much for your time. All the best this week.
Thank you. Yeah,
Play
I'm looking
well. We
forward to
can't
it.
wait to watch you again.
gonna be a good
And
week.
thanks for your time.
Awesome.
Appreciate
Yeah,
hanging
thank
out
you.
with you. Take care.
Hang time.
Hang time.